Barbara Roberts.
Yes, good morning.
Hello there. My name's Dr. Beddy. I'm one of the new GPs in the practice. First of all, what would you like me to call you?
Well, you can call me Barbara, that'll be fine, thank you.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so Barbara, I'm seeing you today, but I think it's usually Dr. Brown that sees you, is that right?
Yes, Dr. Brown's my doctor.
Okay. What is it that's brought you to see me today?
Well, I've come about my tummy problem. I've got terrible trouble with my stomach, and Dr. Brown just doesn't seem to be able to get to the bottom of it. And I thought perhaps I'd come and see you to see if you could help.
Right, okay. Can you tell me a bit more about your tummy problems?
Well, I have this terrible discomfort nearly all the time. It very often feels bloated. I swing between being constipated and having diarrhoea. I have sort of cramping feelings sometimes, and other times it stabs. It's a real stabbing feeling. I often have the urge to go to the toilet, and I pass very smelly wind.
Right. So quite a few symptoms there, and some of them sound quite troublesome to you.
Yes.
Okay. And how long has this been going on?
Well, I've traced it back to a holiday I had in Egypt about 4 years ago. I had a horrible bout of sickness and diarrhoea, and I don't think my stomach's ever been really right since then.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so you think it began about 4 years ago after this holiday?
Yes.
Okay. And what sort of treatments have you tried for this before?
Well, Dr. Brown gave me some muscle relaxants at the beginning, but I've been to the health shop and they've been really helpful. They've given me lots of different tablets and medicines for different things. And Imodium.
Right.
I have Imodium in my handbag all the time, just in case.
Right.
Yeah.
So these different tablets that you've got from the herbal shop, how are you taking them?
Oh, well, different tablets. You know, I don't have the same problem every day, so I'll take some tablets for certain symptoms and other tablets for other things.
So am I right in thinking you perhaps decide on a day-to-day basis what you're going to take, depending on what your stomach's doing?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. And what about tests? Have you had any tests for these problems?
Yes, I had, in the early days I had a what are they called?
Gastroscopy. Was that the tube down from the top?
Yes.
Okay.
And at the same time I had a barium enema.
Right.
That was very uncomfortable.
Okay.
But no, I've tried. Well, I don't think he's tried enough tests, because he said after that they didn't find anything, and he's just not sent me for any more. That's it now, as far as he's concerned. Sent me back to the doctor. Right.
It sounds as though you're not happy with that.
Well, you know, I think that actually the NHS are running out of money, aren't they? And he's decided that I've had enough tests.
Right.
And, you know, if you go on the internet, there's loads of tests that he could have sent me for.
Right.
If I had a bit more money, I'd go private.
Right.
I just don't think he's got to the bottom of it.
Right. So you feel as though actually enough hasn't been done in the way of tests?
No, he's not. There's loads more he could do, I'm sure.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And can I ask you, Barbara, how is all of this affecting you day to day? How's it affecting your life?
Well, it's had quite a big impact. I mean, the biggest thing, I suppose, is that I went from being full-time to part-time at work. I just couldn't sit all day comfortably. And so I went part-time. But in the end, about a year ago, I stopped work altogether.
Right,
I miss that. I miss the girls. We used to go out at least once a week to the pictures or for a drink. That's one thing.
Sounds as though that's something you quite enjoyed.
Yes, yes, we used to have a laugh.
Right, okay.
I used to go to Swing Into Shape. I used to go to an exercise class. That was, I missed the exercise actually. That was once a week. But, you know, the thing was, I wasn't comfortable. Never felt quite right doing all this exercise. I was always worried I was going to be taken short, or so I stopped that.
Right.
Then, well, my husband and I used to go out for meals.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing we don't do anymore now.
Right.
Yes, quite a few things really.
Yeah, it does. It does sound as though over the last few years your life has really changed quite a lot because of these symptoms. It sounds.
Yes.
And have there been any times over the last 4 years that you've noticed any significant changes in your symptoms? For example, have there been any times when things have been better for you?
Well, last year, my son got married, and
Right.
I have to say I was worried that that I wouldn't be able to cope with it, that I wouldn't be feeling well enough. But surprisingly enough, I was in good form. I think it was about 3 weeks in the summer getting ready for it and the whole hoo-ha of the wedding. But I was in really good form for that. Yeah.
Right.
Yes, that was a good time.
Right. And how were your tummy symptoms then?
I hardly noticed them.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It seemed to clear up.
Right.
Yeah, which was
Right.
good.
Right. That's interesting. And are there any times when your tummy symptoms bother you more, seem particularly bad?
Well, I'm having a bit of a bad patch at the moment. It's
Right.
particularly uncomfortable. I have to say I do notice it when my husband's away.
Right.
He travels with his job, and he
Right.
can be away a couple of times a month. And that's not. It's very often not good then, I have to say.
Right. So you notice they're worse when your husband's not around.
Maybe I'm thinking about it a bit more. I don't know, when he's not there.
Right. I know you've been seeing Dr. Brown about this for the last few years. What is it that he's said that he thinks might be wrong with you?
Well, he thinks it's all in my head. You know,
Right.
he says it's stress.
Right. Okay. And what do you think?
Well, I mean, it can't all be in my head. I get too much physical pain for it to be in my head. I mean, it's real. It's a real pain.
And have you had any thoughts yourself about what you think might be causing it?
Well, I mean, I did think that perhaps it was an infection that hadn't cleared up in the early stages, but I think, I mean, sometimes I think it's IBS. A friend of mine's got that and it sounds similar. And then other times I'll think, I wonder if it's an ulcer.
Right.
On a really bad day, I start to think it might be cancer.
Right.
My mother-in-law died of cancer last year, and she had a growth that the doctor didn't investigate.
Right.
But by the time they'd found it, it was the size of a football, and of course
dear.
it was too late to operate then. So,
Right,
you know, when I go
right.
to bed at night now, I just feel and make sure there's nothing different going on.
Okay. So just to make sure that I've got the story straight, you've seen Dr. Brown for a couple of years. You've tried a variety of medications, some prescribed, some from the herbal shop, and none of them really made a great deal of difference. You've had some investigations, but you perhaps feel you've not had enough investigations. And at times you worry that this could be something quite serious, like a cancer. Have I got the story right?
Yes, yeah, I'd
Okay.
say so.
Well, I think, Barbara, having heard your story and heard about the symptoms, I'm not sure that actually sending you for more tests at this point would be the most useful thing that we could do for you. And the reason for that is because you've had some of the main investigations in the last couple of years, and they've not shown anything. And your symptoms haven't really changed that much. So it's very unlikely that if we were to send you for more tests now that they'd show anything different from what we already know. So I think it would be a waste of time for you to go for more tests. I think we've only just begun to talk about it, and I think perhaps you need to have a bit of time to think about it, and then perhaps come back. Perhaps if you booked in for a double slot next week, and that would give us a good chunk of time to think about this new approach. And perhaps if you could also bring your tablets in, or make a list of them, we can look at what you're taking and perhaps go from there. How would that sound, Barbara?
Okay, well, to make an appointment for next week and come back and see you again and talk about it a bit more.
Yes, I think so. I think that would be a good start.
And I'll make a list of the tablets that I'm taking. I won't bring all the bottles down.
Okay, all right.
Okay. All right.
So shall I see you again next week?
I'll make an appointment for next week.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Barbara.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.